What's going on, fellas? This is questions number, I have no idea what actually. I just put up the community post, so probably won't get all of the questions I will get over the next 24 hours done here, obviously. So I will probably just answer a couple of them, make it a little bit shorter video today, and then probably just make another one of these tomorrow, getting to all of the ones that appear overnight. So probably just put that as the next number in the questions installment, but really it's part 2 of this one. As always, if you guys have any questions that you would like my opinions on, you can put them in the community post. I will inevitably put up probably the day before I do the next one of these. Thank you for your participation as always. It means a lot to me. But getting straight into the questions, the first one is straining my quad when doing overhead press, normal or a form thing. So probably a little bit of both. I mean, if you did a holistic warm-up like walking on the treadmill, a wind bike or something, probably you wouldn't have strained your quad. But what I'm guessing happened, right, and this is a guess, I don't know you, I haven't seen you train, but what I'm guessing happened is you were lazy with lighter weights and weren't flexing your quads on your overhead press. And then suddenly when things were actually kind of challenging, you started flexing your quads, but your lower body was completely unwarm, right? So you can just make a deliberate habit of flexing your quads on your warm-ups. That way, when you start getting into significant loads, they're already fully warmed up, but the inclusion of a whole body warm-up can be helpful. Favorite energy drink? That's a fair one. I do drink energy drinks. I try not to do it very often to save money, and usually will lean into caffeine pills if I just am looking for caffeine. But now and then, as kind of a celebration going into a session that should be fun, I will have one. I probably like whatever that new Rain is. I think it's like Gummy Bear or something. I don't know what it is. Max has bought me them once or twice, and those are quite good. But yeah, most of the Rain flavors I'm pretty big on. That's kind of my current kick, although I really like the Rock Stars that have 300 milligrams of caffeine as well. The red Rock Star with 300 milligrams of caffeine, cheaper and pretty slept on. I actually like it quite a bit. The next one is how to plan your training when you are time constrained, i.e. working a physical job in a home gym setup. Okay, so yeah, if we're working within time constraints, usually what I'll advocate for everybody is timing your rest times. That can cut down the exact same training session into something a lot more feasible. Resting a little bit more on your main compounds, resting a little bit less on your accessories. That's the first thing we can do to reduce time while still performing the same workload. And then the other thing I will always mention is the inclusion of antagonistic supersets. So if you're going to do on your upper body day some bench presses and some pull-ups, doing the pull-ups between the sets of the bench press, because they're antagonistic musculature, there's not really any overlap in the primary movers. It won't take away from your performance that much, and it lets you greatly increase your work density. So the density of the training session is going to be what is the key, because we want to get probably about the same amount of work done as our counterparts who have longer to train. If we want to see comparable results, we just have to do it in less time. Yeah, so I think that would be the main thing, is just when you can, supersetting any antagonistic motions you have within the same day. Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing. And abbreviating your warm-up structure to be what is necessary to reduce your injury risk and be fully warm, but no more, no less. I think a lot of people spend a lot of time warming up when it's really just them trying to get focused. So if you can come up with a ritual to get focused quicker mentally, that can cut down on your training time. And then the last one from the YouTube is, how would you approach changing the length of a microcycle for someone looking to move away from the traditional 7-day training cycle? I mean, it just depends, right? It depends on why we're getting away from it, and that's going to determine how we get away from it. If it's just trying to address a work to rest ratio, so let's say, I don't know, let's say you've been training 6 days a week, right? So 6 on, 1 off work to rest ratio, right? And you finally get to the point where you're like, okay, I can do enough damage in a single session. It feels like these latter 2-3 sessions are not very productive, right? But we have 6 sessions we want to get done. Rather than having to condense that into 3 on, 1 off, 2 on, 1 off to fit a 7-day week, we can take those same 6 training cycles and spread them across 8 days, but change the work to rest ratio to make it 3-to-1, 3 on, 1 off, 3 on, 1 off. So if it's born of necessity of trying to get a certain amount of work in, but needing to increase your work to rest ratio, we can increase it slightly. If the need to change your microcycle is born of the need to include a lot of motions within your training and have a greater rotation, such as a strongman who might do yoke 1 week, farmers the next week, front squats 1 week, SSB squat the next week. There's a lot of stuff we want to fit within our training. Then just moving straight to a 14-day, a week A, a week B, single microcycle is probably what I would recommend. And then if you're a beginner and you just have an upper day, you have a lower day and a rest day, and you're adding weight each time gradually, you might want to just make that a 3-day microcycle. That way you can basically complete it at twice the rate. So I think it just depends on the reason why they're deviating from it. So I can't really give anything super specific there. But that would be all the ones that I have up on the YouTube right now. And then I'm going to tack on a second video here of the couple that I got from my Discord. So, all right. And then really quick, the couple that I got on the Discord when I popped in there and asked really quick. So the first one is, what is your approach to injury, both mentally and from a programming standpoint? That's definitely a long enough one to have its own video, but briefly, mentally, the big thing for me is to just not catastrophize, be patient, and then view it as an opportunity to get better at the things that are going to get more training economy. So if my knee gets tweaked, I'm going to have to back off of squats and follow more of a rehabilitation training cycle on the squats. Like, okay, well, I can't hit a PR on squats, this block, that sucks, but I have that much more recovery variables to dedicate to maybe my deadlift and my bench. So I'm going to hit a bigger deadlift and bench PR than I was going to otherwise. So that's kind of how I approach it, is whatever I can do pain-free, I'm going to get better at it. As far as physically, a lot of that just comes down to downscaling the stimulus that got us hurt to a pain-free level, and then gradually reintroducing it, maybe scaling the motion if you need to, identifying maybe if we had poor prescriptions of volume, intensity, and frequency, whether it be not enough to prepare us for what we were going to try to do or too much that led to the injury, so fixing that. And then finally, maybe the inclusion of an accessory. Sometimes I find that just the inclusion of a simple accessory prevents that injury from happening again in the future. And that's kind of like how I would go about taking a positive away from it, is just learning, okay, well, I didn't know it then, but now I know I should probably include this motion for injury risk mitigation or management for myself personally. The next one was like, I guess it was kind of the gist of that, which is how to take positives away from it, which is to get stronger at the lifts you're able to do, not to back away from your training, right? Just to lean into what you are able to do and get really good at that, and try to be just as passionate about what you are able to do. Try to learn what maybe were the confounding factors that led to the injury, so that way you can avoid it in the future. That's how to take benefits away from it. And then potential benefit to keeping singles in the program after a meet/peak, if that's what you're best at, or any downsides that it might have as far as taking away from what you might want to get done after a meet. And I'm going to say that it can be done well either way, right? Some people will choose to omit the single from their programming because they think, okay, well, I can retrain that skill of upper end expression in 4 to 5 weeks. I don't need to do this year round. And doing a single before my volume work will just detract from the amount of energy and intensity I can bring to the volume work, which is the focus of maybe the hypertrophy phase we run after a meet. So I think that would be the first thing I would tag on there, is like, the reasons you might take it away is so that you can dedicate all of your training economy to maybe whatever training qualities we're looking for directly following a meet, which usually is going to be like a hypertrophy and work capacity focused time with a little bit more variation. But on the other side of the coin, assuming we keep it pretty sub-maximal, if you're someone who says, oh, well, it takes me more than 5 weeks to retrain that skill of feeling confident with singles, I'd rather just not go through that and keep that year round. What I would do is I would find what's the lightest single you can do to keep that skill around. Maybe the inclusion of a tempo or a pause on that top single to make an even lighter weight relatively hard and allow you to preserve that confidence and skill at 1 RMs or high percentages, but take as little away from the objective of that training phase as we can. I think that would be my personal breakdown. So thank you guys for your questions as always. I appreciate all of you. Thank you for watching my channel. If you enjoyed the video, comment algo.